Civilization 6 is one of the most iconic and popular strategy games of all time, and today, you'll learn enough to play through a game without quitting. You might quit anyway, but it will be from excitement, and not from confusion. To start, the game has 2 expansion packs and a ton of DLC. You might have bought something claiming to be the definitive Ultimate Platinum Complete Edition, only to find that you're missing a few civs. That's okay. The extra content is good, but not necessary yet. Just make sure you're playing with the 2 expansions. They add some of the game's core systems. Create a new game, standard settings, pick a map type that you like, and choose your leader. The civs in this game are very specialized. Later on, the pick will be super meaningful. For your first game, don't worry about it until you have a chance to try out all these different features. Still, here are a few that I'd recommend for someone trying this out for the first time. And here's where we begin. We start with a settler. These are units that create cities. We will open by building 2 scouts and look around with our warrior. Exploration is really important in Civ 6. The first civ to meet a city-state gets a free envoy, so a little bonus. Goody huts can also give you a lot of powerful things, and you can also discover natural wonders and get era score. Let's start with era score. In the bottom right, there's a counter for it. Each era runs out of time eventually, and if your era score is high enough, you get a golden age. This lets you pick a bonus. If you miss the golden age, you still get a choice with the pop-up screen, but it just gives you a way to get more era score. You don't get that golden age bonus. If you have a very low era score, you will get a dark age, which is troublesome, but actually better than the in-between normal age, so don't fret. The golden age bonuses are very powerful. Eventually, you will learn how to pump up your era score, but for now, just go with the flow, and just know that when you do new things, often you will get era score for doing them. Or you'll get technology boosts, or fulfill city-state missions. So if you want to build a wonder, a unit, a new district, but you don't really understand what it does, just go ahead and build it. This game is constantly rewarding you for trying new things. So just try some new things. At the beginning of the game, you should build 2 scouts, and then maybe a slinger. Barbarians will spawn. Their scouts will be running around, and if they see your city, they get a little exclamation mark over their heads. That means that when they get back to camp, a raid is about to begin. Barbarians are quite strong in this game. Make sure that you have enough of a military to deal with them. If you kill their camps, you get gold, technology boosts, and era score. So don't feel too bad if you're dealing with a lot of them. At this point, we're going to talk about the yields in Civilization 6. A lot of the game revolves around these 6 different points that you can generate. Zoom into a city and you can see what tiles you're using and what yields they give. But outside of the city screen, I would strongly recommend turning on tile yields. You can find that option here. In Civ 3 and 4, I don't like having this on. I find it makes things a bit too cluttered, but in Civ 6, it is essential. It's kind of hard to tell what is a hill tile without it. It will also make you better at placing cities and making builder moves, and you can actually see natural wonders before you reach them, because they have bonus culture and faith on the tiles around them. Anyway, let's break down what the yields do. The first is production. Production lets you build things. Wonders, units, projects, and buildings. Each of these have a production cost. Every turn, your city generates production. Once you have enough production for the thing that you're building, you choose something new, and any extra production transfers to the next thing that you built. If you need something in a hurry, you can actually switch off what you're building and come back to it later. You won't lose any progress on the original thing. You also get science and culture. These give you progress along 2 trees. When you get enough culture or science, you unlock a civic or technology, and these give you new abilities or allow you to build new things. Additionally, culture lets your cities grow outwards and pick up new tiles. And in the culture tree, you'll find policy cards. These are bonuses to your empire. You can pay to change these cards, but periodically, if you see the exclamation mark, you can do it for free, like when you unlock a new civic. Higher level governments have more slots for policy cards, so if you reach a higher tier of government, you should switch into one of the new governments as soon as you can for the additional slots. I should mention, the actions that you take in-game can speed up your research of technologies and civics. The game gives you these little quests. This is another reason just to try new things and see what they do. Once you have 100 hours under your belt, you'll want to be chasing after many, but not all of these. But don't worry about them too much right now. The next yield is commerce. This is money. You can buy things with money like units and buildings. but not wonders or districts, which are a special type of building. A good way to spend money is upgrading units. I mentioned policy cards. If you have the policy card that gives you a discount on upgrades in, this is the most efficient way to spend your money. You can also buy tiles with gold. The next yield is faith. Faith is weird because some civs will need a lot of it, and some civs can ignore it. Click on your leader's icon in the top right, and it will tell you all your powers. If you see the faith icon, or references to religion or holy sites, you should probably prioritize faith and build holy sites. The rules for what you can spend it on are a bit weird. There are buildings or powers that you can unlock to spend faith in different ways. If you're choosing these options, click on your city. You can see what you can spend your faith on here. Faith is generally overpowered, but with most civs, actually you will ignore it. If that's the case, you'll likely get a bit of faith here and there. You still want to spend that faith, so check out the Great Peoples tab and use your faith to buy great people if you have nothing else to spend it on. Finally, we have food. Your city has a population of citizens, this number right here. Your citizens are assigned to tiles in the city, and they're the ones that are gathering the yields. If you don't have a citizen on a tile, you're not actually getting the yield. Every turn, each citizen eats 2 food. If you're not getting enough food, the city will starve. If you have extra, which normally you would, the city will grow. How much food the city needs to grow will depend. The number will rise as the population rises, but having more citizens is very important. More citizens means more yields and more districts, which we'll talk about in a bit. And citizens each produce a little bit of culture and science just intrinsically. With food, though, there is a catch, which is housing. Housing is this symbol here. The UI around it is very confusing. It starts having an effect at 1 under the limit. So if you are at, say, 5 out of 6 housing, you take a massive 50% penalty to the city's growth rate, and it gets worse from there. If you need housing, a granary is the solution. Don't build this for the +1 food, only build it when your city is approaching the cap, and will be taking the growth penalty soon. I should also mention amenities. Housing acts as an obstacle to food and growth. Amenities affect every single other yield. Housing only has an effect when you reach 1 under the cap. Amenities have an effect at pretty much all points of the game. Both of these are massive multipliers, but while housing only matters some of the time, amenities are basically always relevant. So that means get luxury resources, trade for luxury resources. This is probably the most important use of diplomacy. And know that wonders like the Colosseum, the Temple of Artemis, and policy cards like Republican Legacy and Liberalism are very good. Entertainment districts actually are not very good. The effect is just too small, but you should build 1 to get the Colosseum, and eventually you're going to want a zoo. But you don't need many of these because zoos cover a large area. Speaking of which, the last part of city development that you need to understand is the district. Districts are special buildings that physically appear on the map. Some you can just build whenever. Some, called specialty districts, are restricted by population. Here are the specialty districts. You can build 1 when you plant the city, another when you hit size 4, then size 7, 10, etc. Most of them get adjacency bonuses. That's like a bonus for what the district is next to. So like, if your industrial zone is next to strategic resources, an aqueduct, a mine, or a quarry, it gets bonus production. It's kind of like a solitaire puzzle building element to the game. It's very satisfying, but it's also very frustrating if you're new. But make some effort here, learn some of these adjacencies. It's very important because a lot of other things in the game will depend on, or multiply, these bonuses. Press the 9 key on your keyboard to see all of your adjacencies. Here are 3 important setups for districts that I'd recommend you learn. But be aware that your planning might go out the window if like an iron or a horse spawns where you wanted to put your district. It's all part of the fun. Specialty districts don't do too much on their own. Mostly they just give the adjacency bonus and some points towards getting great people. But districts are important because you can then build very powerful buildings inside the district. Okay, so we now know all of the main pieces of the game. How do we put this together? Again, we start with 2 scouts, probably some military units to deal with barbarians, and settlers. City placement is key. For you, there are 3 essential priorities. Number 1, plant on top of luxury resources, if possible, like literally put the city on the luxury resource. Number 2, it is essential to plant on fresh water. Otherwise, you will lose a lot of housing. And number 3, just look at the tile yields, especially food and production. This is very, very important. Try to immediately get tiles with 2 food, 2 production, or as close to that as possible, or better. For technology, research towards a single district that you want to focus on. Commercial hubs are always good, but you can also do harbors if you're coastal, holy sites if you're a faith-focused civ, or encampments if you want to fight. Science is not important in the early game, so I'd caution against it, unless your civ has some sort of synergy with it. If you're Greece, you can do cultural districts first, because yours are half-priced. Oh, just know, don't put a harbor and commercial district together in the same city, because you will lose one of the biggest benefits of the commercial hub if you do that. Focus on one specific district first. This is really important because Civ 6 has all of these complex rules about the cost of districts, so do not unlock one unless you're ready to build it, because unlocking it can often increase the price of other districts. And as soon as you unlock one, plop them down in as many cities as possible. This is important, because districts get more expensive as the game continues. Put them down as soon as possible, even if you're going to switch off and build something else, because then you lock in the lower price. Once you unlock that first district, technology is not that important until later in the game. Don't worry if there's nothing useful to pick on the tech tree. But let's look at the culture tree, though. There's some important stuff there. The first step on the culture tree unlocks you your first policy cards. If you don't have another source of faith, take God King. On standard speed, when you hit 25 faith, you get to choose a pantheon, a neat little bonus that you'll keep for the rest of the game. If you're going for holy sites and faith, you have a lot of good options here. If you're not, there's really just 6 or so that I'd recommend picking. If religious settlements hasn't been taken, 100% grab that, it's really good. Take this one if you want to fight, and this one if you want to build. But depending on your land, anything that gives culture or production can be good. Just make sure that you get a couple builders to improve these tiles early, because that way you get the bonus. At foreign trade, you can build a trader. Do that as soon as possible, maybe buy the trader. It's just free production and food. Internal trade routes are better until halfway through the game, so that means send traders from other cities in your empire to your capital. You get food and production as your capital gets more districts, so grow your capital too. Be careful not to let your trade routes get pillaged. If a barbarian steps on the tile, they can kill your trader. Some civics will get you envoys, so your scouts have been exploring the map and you probably found some city-states. If you were the first person to meet them, you got 1 free envoy with that city-state. Having envoys gives you bonus yields. Starting at 3 envoys, whoever has the most envoys is the suzerain of the city-state. You're their boss, basically. They might have resources, which they will give you, but mostly, you want this because each city-state has a custom bonus that they will give to their suzerain. Some of these are weak, some of these are game-breaking. On the civics tree, you will also find governor titles. You get to pick governors and assign them to your cities, and you can give governors new abilities with the titles too. Some of these are quite hard to use. I'd recommend Magnus and Pingala to get good, consistent value out of your governor titles. Soon, you'll unlock the government plaza. This gives +1 adjacency to all other districts, so you might feel some decision paralysis about where to put it, but put it down as soon as possible. It is super cheap and gives a governor title instantly. And it gives these special buildings. Ancestral Hall is by far the strongest of the first bunch. Get this as soon as possible. The government plaza also gives a big boost to trade routes leading to the city that it's in, so put it down in a city where you're sending all your traders, likely your capital. Finally, we get to feudalism, and I get to talk about builders. Builders have 3 charges that they can use to improve tiles. Ideally, every tile that your cities are using should be improved. They can also use a charge to chop woods or remove bonus resources for a big boost in gold, food, or production. This is very strong. Definitely do a lot of chopping, especially if you have Magnus in a city. But there is a catch. The way this game stops you from snowballing too hard when you build a ton of cities is by making the cost of builders increase the more of them you've already built. This means that it is essential for you to be using the charges efficiently. Enter feudalism. Each builder gets 2 extra charges. With the way that their scaling cost works, this means that you spend more than twice as much production on build charges without feudalism, as opposed to with it. So you really want to delay having builders until you get feudalism. Before feudalism, a couple are okay, especially for amenities. After feudalism, go buck wild. Buy builders, use them to chop out more builders, terraform your whole empire, and rush for feudalism as soon as possible. This is the civics path I would recommend. Oh, just know that farms give bonus food if you put them in a triangle. So if your city needs food, that should be a solution that you prioritize. Okay, that is all the core information that you need to play Civ 6. Let's do a lightning round of additional things that matter, but not as much. Diplomacy. Like I said, the most important thing is trading luxury resources. You can sell strategic resources like iron and horses to the computer players if you need money in a pinch. Also, alliances will give you big boosts, so make friends. This is important. As soon as you meet each and every civ, I would recommend sending a delegation, especially on high difficulties. If you don't do this, they will just denounce you and declare war on you. Great people. Some are overpowered, some are not very good. If there is a particularly strong great person available that you want, that is what projects are for. If you're fighting a war, a great general is essential. This is a huge boost right here. So build an encampment and project for the great general if you don't already have one and you're looking to fight. Some of the great people, especially the admirals, are just going to bum around your empire and you're not going to really have much use for them. That is fine. If you have too many artists or writers, you can sell your works of art to make room for new stuff. War. There's a bunch of stuff here. The AI is really bad at it. You'll figure it out. But you do need to know how to take cities. If the city does not have walls, you can just blitz it with a handful of units. If the city does have walls, you won't get very far trying to slam units into it. If you're very patient, a few archers would do the job, but you probably need some sort of siege units to take cities. The World Congress. This is a thing that exists. Naturalists. These give amenities. They are a great way to spend your faith later on, but what will happen is you will build them, and then you will be very confused about why there's nowhere to put a national park. The four most common things that are stopping you. Number 1, the tiles need high appeal. Check the appeal lens. That's number 3 on your keyboard. Number 2, the tiles need to be in a vertical diamond. Number 3, the tiles need to be unimproved. You can remove the tile improvements if needed, although if you have a wonder or district there, you can't remove that. And number 4, the tiles must all belong to one city. If you zoom into the city, you can move the tiles between the cities to get around this restriction. Loyalty. This is just a system to stop the enemy from planting cities in your face. A city too close to a foreign civilization will rebel and become independent, especially if you're in a dark age. If you take a rebelling city, consider razing it, like destroying the city. Putting a governor in helps a bit, but generally, all of the ways to gain loyalty don't give you very much and are very costly. Just don't mess with this, like, don't plant a city if the game tells you it will be negative loyalty. Victory. Hey, I said you'd learn enough to play through a game of Civ 6. I didn't say that you'd win. But if it's your first game, I'd say pivot mid-game to get strong science, build spaceports, and win the space race victory. So that's it, you're ready to play a game. One of the best things about Civilization 6 is that the game has a ton of great tutorials on YouTube. I'll make you a little playlist below. Check out Potato McWhiskey, he explains very clearly how to make good decisions in the game. Riddick Acidic has good, focused tutorials at a reasonable length. If my sections on city-states and governors aren't enough for you, but your brain is too fried for 30-minute videos, check them out. I'm also putting Herson's Multiplayer 101 on the list. Even if you never touch multiplayer, it is essential if you want to understand this game's meta, because there's some interesting things going on. Okay, boot up your game, go play, before you forget. I guarantee that as soon as your scout starts first meeting city-states, you're gonna be hooked. Cheers, everybody. Enjoy the game.